Hi guys, happy Wednesday. It's August 27th. Good afternoon. So this is an expose. A lot of people have been talking about this in a roundabout way. I've consolidated it and it's an expose because I don't think anybody has talked about it. CNBC, the media, Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, they haven't basically pinpointed this, and I think that we have. Okay, so that's the good news. The bad news is the fact that we have basically a pump and dump scheme very similar to what was already in place with the tariffs on Liberation Day that he announced on April 2nd. And then basically unwound through the pause a few days later. A lot of people profit, including people that went to the White House, basically doing a victory lap, which Taco said out loud, saying, hey, they made, hundreds of millions of dollars from what has happened. So this is the same thing. So he owns $100 million plus in debt, number one. The people around him, Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary, and Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, are former Wall Street guys. They still have ties to that Wall Street. They're talking to them every day, including Bill Ackman and all these other hedge fund guys and people on Wall Street. So the trade is out there to basically lower rates. So rates right now is 425, 450 Fed funds rate. He said he wants to lower 3%, which is 1%. Okay, guys, one and a quarter or so. That's literally what he's looking to do. I mean, he could basically make it zero if he wanted to, based on the fact that he is making the Fed his own by trying to remove Fed Chair Powell, asking him to resign if he doesn't lower rates. And we already saw him basically terminate or fire Cook, or try to at least, and put his own people in there. And the reason why he wants to put his own people in there is because of the scheme. It's a pump and dump fraud scheme. Okay, and so let's go through it. It's very long. I don't want to talk too much about it. I can talk more about it on the live later, but it is pretty long. So let's just go through it.
Pump and dump of rates, Trump's manipulation of debt, the Fed, and the American people. Executive summary. Donald Trump's manipulation of monetary policy is not an economic policy at all. It is a personal enrichment scheme dressed in populist language. By pressuring the Federal Reserve to slash interest rates, replacing independent voices with loyalists, and using his Wall Street-linked cabinet for insider positioning, Trump has turned the U.S. bond market into a rigged casino. At its core, this is a pump and dump of rates. Pump phase. Force rates down, inflate bond and stock prices, and profit from inside knowledge. Dump phase. As fiscal risk mounts, yields rise, bonds collapse, and ordinary Americans are left with the losses. This expose lays out the mechanics, the beneficiaries, the legal implications, and the devastating consequences for retirees, savers, and global trust in the U.S. financial system. 2. Trump's financial vulnerability and motive. 1. Debt as driver of policy. Trump is estimated to carry over $100 million in personal and corporate debt, a mix of commercial loans, refinancings, and obligations tied to his real estate ventures. Lower rates reduce his costs directly. Every 1% cut on $100 million saves $1 million per year in interest. With 3% plus cuts, Trump could reduce obligations by $3 to $5 million annually, a massive incentive. 2. Quid pro quo through tariffs and trade. Trump has consistently weaponized tariffs as private negotiation tools. Example, tariffs on Vietnam framed as America First simultaneous talks to open Trump-branded resorts. This dual-track strategy, public policy for private gain, represents systemic corruption. Bar chart visual idea, table of Trump tariffs versus coinciding Trump Organization business negotiations, China, Turkey, Vietnam. 3. The false promise of lower rates. 1. The public sales pitch. Trump insists rate cuts will ease mortgage payments, reduce federal debt costs, stimulate investment. 2. The hidden truth. Retirees are crushed. Savers relying on CDs/treasuries lose billions in annual income. Businesses don't invest. Political chaos and authoritarian uncertainty override borrowing cost advantages. Debt spiral accelerates. Lower servicing costs tempt Congress to borrow more. fueling fiscal dominance, debt dictating monetary policy. Bar chart idea, U.S. household interest income versus Fed funds rate, 2000 to 2025. Show steep drop during 0% era retirees' losses. 4. Capture of the Federal Reserve. 1. Threats and purges. Trump threatens to fire or sideline Powell unless rates are slashed by 300 BPS. Fed Governor Cook fired, replaced with loyalists. Goal: create a cooked Fed that rubber stamps political demands. 2. Erosion of independence. Central bank independence has been sacrosanct since World War II. History shows. Nixon pressured Arthur Burns in the 1970s inflation spiral. Turkey's Erdogan repeatedly forced rate cuts, inflation hit 80%. Trump is on the same path, weaponizing the Fed for personal gain. Bar chart timeline idea, major attacks on Fed independence versus inflation spikes. V. The Wall Street connection, insider trading at scale. 1. The Cabinet of Traders. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, hedge fund operator, macro trader. Howard Lutnick, Cantor Fitzgerald CEO, bond market power broker. Both sit inside Trump's cabinet with portfolio exposure to bonds. 2. The Playbook. Trump signals intention to force cuts. Insiders front-run treasuries, buying before the Fed moves. When cuts arrive, bond prices surge, insiders profit. This matches SEC's definition of trading on material non-public information. Bar chart table idea, Trump circle, Trump, Bessent, Lutnick versus rate-sensitive asset classes, USTs, REITs, mortgage-backed securities.
6.
The pump, inflating bond and stock markets. Fed cuts 10-year yields fall, Treasury and mortgage bonds rise. Equity multiples expand as cheap money perception lifts stock valuations. Trump uses stock market rallies as propaganda. See? My policies are working. But this is an illusion, a bubble driven by politics, not fundamentals. Bar chart idea, S&P 500 rallies versus Trump's rate cut speeches, annotated with Fed events. 7. The dump, market backlash. 1. Risk premiums rise. Markets eventually realize. Debt trajectory unsustainable. Fed no longer independent. Inflation risk climbing. Result: yields rise despite Fed cuts. 2. Bond crash. When yields spike, bond prices plummet. Pension funds, retirees, and institutions take massive losses. This is the dump phase. Insiders exit, public absorbs pain. Bar chart idea, yield spread widening, 10-year versus 2-year, during authoritarian Fed interference, Turkey, Argentina, U.S. under Trump. 8. Victims, the American public. Older Americans, dependent on interest income, destroyed by 0 to 1% rates. Middle-class savers, misled by Trump propaganda into buying bonds at the top. Pension funds, long-duration portfolios collapse in value. Global investors, lose faith in U.S. treasuries, shift capital to Europe/Asia. Bar chart infographic idea, flow of wealth from retirees/pension funds to Trump insiders. 9. Legal and ethical violations. 1. Insider trading and market manipulation. SEC Rule 10b-5 prohibits trading on non-public information. Trump's directives to his circle equals non-public signals. Trading on this equals felony-level insider trading. 2. Abuse of office. Public office leveraged for personal enrichment. Violates Emoluments Clause spirit, Sarbanes-Oxley, Dodd-Frank. 3. DOJ and SEC silence. Regulators paralyzed, possibly out of fear. Media, CNBC, Bloomberg, complicit by failing to frame as market manipulation. X. Historical parallels. Enron, 2001 manipulated energy markets, insiders cashed out, retirees lost pensions. 2008 crisis, mortgage-backed, pump, insiders hedged, public bore crash. Libor scandal, rate manipulation for trader profits. Turkey, Erdogan central bank capture inflation greater than 80%. Russia, Putin financial oligarch capture, sovereign stagnation. Trump's case is unique. It merges all these tactics at the sovereign US level. Bar chart timeline idea, parallel chart of scandals showing public losses versus insider gains. 11. Projections. What happens next? Scenario 1. Trump gets his cuts, rates to 1%. Short term, bonds rally, stocks bubble higher. Medium term, debt spiral, yields rise anyway. Result, bubble collapse, US credibility hit. Scenario 2, market rebels. Bond vigilantes refuse to finance cheap debt. Yields spike immediately, even with Fed cuts. Crisis of confidence, stocks tumble. Scenario 3, Fed resistance, Powell holds. Trump escalates, further purges federal. Political crisis merges with financial crisis. 12. Conclusion, a financial coup. Trump's manipulation of interest rates is not economics. It is a financial coup against the American people. By turning the Fed into a political weapon and treating bond markets like a personal hedge fund, he jeopardizes the savings of retirees, the credibility of U.S. treasuries, the independence of American institutions. This is not merely unethical. It is insider trading with a nation's future. 13. Why this is illegal and corrupt. At its heart, Trump's manipulation of interest rates is not policy, it is corruption in its purest form. Insider trading by design. Trump, Bessent, and Lutnick are positioned to trade on non-public Fed information. Market manipulation. Forcing the Fed to slash rates through intimidation is price rigging at sovereign scale. Abuse of public office. Using policy to ease personal debt violates constitutional ethics. Breach of fiduciary duty. A president owes loyalty to the people, not to his own balance sheet. Collusion with insiders. Cabinet members profit from schemes they should be policing. Bottom line, this scheme is illegal because it violates securities law, corrupt because it exploits public office for enrichment, and dangerous because it destabilizes the U.S. financial system. Trump is not lowering rates for the American family with a mortgage. He is lowering rates for himself and his friends. 14. Evidence of prior pump and dump schemes. The April 2nd, 2025 Liberation Day episode is proof of Trump's playbook. Trump announced sweeping tariffs, markets plunged. Days later, he paused the tariffs, markets rebounded sharply. Allies invited to the White House bragged about how much money they made off the whipsaw. This was a stock pump and dump, engineered from the Oval Office. The current interest rate manipulation is merely the next chapter. Pump force rates down, inflate bonds and stocks. Dump yields rise, bondholders crash, insiders escape richer. 15. Why the cabinet stays silent. Trump's cabinet silence is not just political cowardice, it is financial collusion. Many cabinet members have hedge fund ties, Wall Street portfolios, or insider access. They are profiting directly from the volatility Trump engineers. Their silence is purchased not with loyalty, but with profits. Thus, the cabinet is not just bowing to Trump, it is cashing in. Final word. Trump's April 2nd, 2025 stock pump and dump was the prototype. His current rate scheme is the sequel. Together, they reveal a president who uses the powers of office not to govern, but to engineer market fraud schemes that enrich insiders and hollow out America's financial integrity. This is not leadership. This is organized corruption at the highest level.
And there you have it, guys. We're already 14 minutes into it, so I don't want to say too much. It speaks for itself. This should help. I hope you can pass this along. I'm going to be posting this on YouTube, not on TT, because they're not going to allow it. So there's no point. And so please review it, study it, and basically share it so then other people can know what's happening so we can put a stop to it. A. B. You can take measures because unless something happens to him health-wise, he's going to prevail on this. Okay, so we need to try to stop him as best we can. So it minimizes the profits that he makes, because if he profits, he will just continue this scheme. Okay, so we need to stop it, and it also hurts us in general, all Americans, and we don't want yields to rise. We actually do want them to go down, but naturally, not artificially as he's trying to do so he can engage in this scheme, the pump and dump scheme, okay? So I hope this helps explain everything that you need to know. Please spend time understanding it and sharing it, and just know that it's happening right now. So there's steps and things that we can do, which we'll talk about on our live, and you're welcome to messaging me anytime on this. Okay, thank you.